Question number 4, percentage work versus feel or auto-regulation for group style CrossFit classes. So let me expand on the question.
Okay.
What this person is asking is, when you're prescribing strength style training to a CrossFit class, do you prescribe set loads or percentages, or do you ask people to kind of go by feel and self-regulate their loads, which would be like build to a heavy set of 4 for the day, leave a few reps in the tank? You want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So when I think about it, I think it really depends on the group of people that you have. If I was a CrossFit gym owner and I had 6 to 8 members turning up to the same class every single time and I knew them by the back of my hand, I could probably lean towards doing more percentage stuff. But I think for the most part, in a lot of gyms, you have a lot of classes running in a day. You're running the same workout across the day. You have new people, you have experienced people, you have all these different things. Percentage work can work. I definitely see the validity in it. But I also think with the sport that we're in, we aren't doing something like, okay, let me just use powerlifting as an example, where you have your deadlift, your bench, and your squat. And you know those are the only things that you're hitting. And you know that remains consistent week to week. And you know that in your training week, nothing much is going to change. CrossFit, there is much more change and variety. It doesn't mean there isn't progressive overload, but there's also the implementation of so many other movements and muscle groups and other things that come into play that by the time you get back to your squat session or your bench session or your lifting session, there's different fatigue there. It's not the same setting as the time before. And then of course, like we speak about the things that come outside, like how stressed are you and all those other things. I think that unfortunately with percentage work, I like it because I'm so number based and it would be amazing to have that. But I think at the same time, it depends how your athletes would ride that. Like some people get super disappointed if they can't hit their percentages, or some people don't have the self-awareness to be like, actually, I shouldn't be hitting this for today. So by giving them the chance to go by feel, it takes out the pressure of I have to hit this number. It's like, what feels good for today?
Nice. I mean, the concept of self-regulation is basically saying we're going to give a general intention to the client, but we're going to let them pick a load that feels good relative to everything that's happening in their life. If you had a really stressful day outside the gym, maybe today's not the day to go heavy, maybe pull back a little bit. If everything outside of the gym is aligned and you're feeling fantastic and great, then by all means go for something heavy. And percentage work is, like you said, basically you're prescribing a certain load that someone might hit, or we want someone to hit. And like you said, I think often people will follow a percentage-based program and be ignorant to what's actually happening to their body and what their body actually needs. I think with a group program, another thing that really depends upon is like the training age of your athletes. If you're working with a really, really experienced bunch, you've got a high training age, been training for a really long time. When I say really long time, I mean like consistent resistance training. Then percentage-based training could be a really accurate approach because it's also more reflective of their actual capacity. We know that, for example, prescribing an 85% to someone who's brand new to weightlifting is not going to be really like an expression of absolute strength, because there may be a skill limiter, a motor control limiter, or they haven't developed the nervous system capabilities to actually express heavy loads. So generally speaking, with newbies, beginners, percentage works regardless of the environment, whether it's group or individual, isn't really a good prescription. The more advanced the athlete is, the better. The more effective it is. And I think the next thing as well, like you were just alluding to this, within a group, you could have so many different ability levels, and which makes percentage-based work really challenging. Because let's take that example. You've got a mix of high training age and low training age athletes. The percentage work could be really appropriate and give the exact dose response that you're looking for half the group, but could give you a really inaccurate dose response for half the group. So this is where having defined prerequisites for your training groups is a really powerful tool. So for example, if you have clearly defined prerequisites for a training group, which says you must be able to squat X number of kilograms for one rep, or a percentage of your body weight, or whatever it is, but at least you know everyone following this program, the minimum ability level is this, and the max could be whatever. So that means when you prescribe a percentage, you know that for 95% of the room, you're going to get the intended dose response, which is good. But if you don't have those prerequisites and it's just an open program for everyone, then it becomes even harder to prescribe it.
I think as well, like the quantity of movements that we're testing, you would need to have your 1 rep max for every single one of those to be able to even do your percentage work. And then your percentage work is based off numbers that probably were accumulated, because we can't test those all at once over different periods, which means like everything's changed anyway. So I feel like it's a very complex way, at least within CrossFit as a sport.
Yeah, what I'll say for our Live Perform Compete program, I never prescribe percentages for Live. I'll often give percentage ranges for Perform and Compete. So for example, Perform Compete, if we're doing like moderate heavy work, I might say 5 reps at 70 to 85%. Start at 70 and build based on feel. So you're basically combining percentage work and auto-regulation in that protocol, because you're saying like, okay, I want you to start something moderate, but as to how heavy you go from there would be dependent on how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And for someone who's not that self-aware, you need to give a bit more information as to what might constitute to you feeling good and what's not. So if the bar speed is still fast on your last rep and you're not losing your position, increase the load.
Yeah.
If your bar path feels slow or you're starting to lose your positions, you're already on too heavy. So that kind of stuff could help. Yeah,
I agree with that. And I think even on the days that you do end up programming that, like sometimes the percentages for some people aren't necessarily attainable for that day, but it's also up to the coach to be like, look, it's okay. Like we've given this rep or this prescription of this range. Don't go past the max, but you can go under the lower number that we've prescribed. Like that's fine. Just go by feel. So again, like you said, you can tie it into the same thing. But I think like one definitive number makes it quite tough.
Agreed.